Hello and welcome to this week's pet pairing video, and the first video that I have filmed in quite a while. I'm going to start doing my makeup, and in the meantime I'm going to chat with you and tell you what happened, although if you've been on my Instagram you already know. I'm grabbing my Glow Last by Auric. So you remember how a couple of weeks ago I told you that I can feel the Rona is coming for me. I know she's closing in and I know it's a matter of a couple of weeks before she strikes. She struck. That's basically the very simple explanation why I disappeared. I did let everyone who follows me on Instagram know what happened, so if you have been around there you know why I've been missing. But I will take the opportunity today to also tell you a little bit about, my experience and how I got it and everything. Well, how I got it remains a mystery, actually. It will remain one of the biggest mysteries in life, in my life anyway, how exactly I got the Rona in the first place. Because even though it was closing in, I still hadn't really been in touch, like in a high-risk contact, to be like, oh, I think now I'm really going to get it. I just have absolutely no idea how I got it. Although it is highly embarrassing to admit it, I will tell you that, because we are confidants here. My social life in the past couple of months has been abysmal, atrocious. I don't do anything besides working and being at home, because my two besties, one of them had a second baby, so she's been in the baby cocoon for the past couple of months, and my other friend has a house in Portugal. She's originally from Portugal and she has a beautiful beach house there, so she went there together with her husband to work from there for a while. So I haven't really had much social contact besides my colleagues, and everyone at work is extremely, careful. Nobody besides me got sick. Well, actually my student got sick. We can circle back to that in a little bit, but before that I wanted to tell you a funny story. So you know how I always tell that my instant concealer from Clarins, this little guy over here, is almost finished? And this morning I was like, you know what, I'm kind of like tired of having to like squeeze it out, so I'm just going to put the remainders in a little tub like this so that it's easier for me to take it out. Let me show you what almost finished looks like, okay? After 2 years of hard work, this is full, okay? This is completely filled to the brim. As I started squeezing, more and more was gathering, and I feel like there is enough product in here for me to use for like the next year now. So there you have it. I don't really typically use large amounts of concealer, because I find that with concealer and with complexion products, generally speaking, for me personally, less is more. I would rather have a little bit of like my veins or a little bit of like dark circles or whatever peeking through than piling on product that is going to start looking very unflattering throughout the course of the day, which is what happens if I put too much concealer. Anyhow, so, like I said, no idea where I got the Rona, because none of my colleagues got sick. The ones that were in close proximity to me for longer than 15 minutes, shorter than 1.5 meter distance without face masks, didn't actually get sick. But what happened is, and I've also spoken about this in my previous videos, is that I have been basically sick for the past month with a variety of different viruses. My son brought a stomach virus that took me like 2.5 weeks to get over, and then I had this, and I told you about it, that I had this like motherfucking bitching sore throat that just wouldn't go away, and it was already like closing in on 2 weeks. And it just wouldn't go away, and I actually called the GP last week on Monday morning to consult with them, because I was like, listen, this is not normal. I've had sore throats before. This feels weird. Why is it not going away? And she was like, yeah, maybe your throat is just a little bit, irritated. So just make sure that you alternate between hot and cold drinks, and make sure that you're constantly like, you're sucking on something. So I bought like these little eucalyptus mint candy things, and I was basically always with one of those in my mouth. And it seemed like it was going well, and then it was not going well, and then it was going well, and whatever. And then Tuesday I was at work, everything was normal. I was just, doing my usual thing, nothing out of the ordinary. And then Tuesday night, not even the evening, like the evening was still fine, but during the night, I'm taking my Double Wear Nude Concealer now, by the way. During the night, I started feeling like I have a little bit of like that, when you're starting to get sick and you feel that like all over muscle pain coming over you. That's what it felt like. And I also felt like that very unpleasant feeling on in the back of my, not throat, but my palate, like behind, in where your nose and your tongue meet, like all the way in the back. It was like that very stingy feeling. And then as soon as I felt that, I was like, uh-oh, I think I need to test myself in the morning. And honestly, I had tested so many times at that point because of the flipping sore throat, and also the fact that at work we are obligated to self-test twice a week. And it was always negative. And I was like, nothing's changed in my, you know, immediate routine. I haven't been in contact with anyone. It's highly unlikely that it's going to be the Rona. So I was very surprised when the test became almost immediately positive. You know how when you do the lateral test, you have to wait a little bit until you're, like, you have the T line and the C line, the test line and the control line, and the test line is basically yes or no corona, and the C line is the control line that has to appear, otherwise you didn't do the test right. And already, like, because the test line runs before the control line, I shone a light on it and I saw immediately the stripe appearing, and I was like, oh, what do you know, the Rona caught up with me. And then in the morning I still felt okay. It felt a little bit like what I had after getting the booster. Oh, by the way, just for full disclosure, I am triple vaxxed. 2 vaccines with Pfizer and a booster with Pfizer. So I didn't really expect, or I wasn't really worried about getting the Rona. I was more worried about the fact that it comes with such a bag of, you know, complications around it, with quarantining and who needs to quarantine and for how long and blah blah blah. So I wasn't really too worried about getting the Rona itself. It was more all the things around it. And then, like I said, in the morning I still felt a little bit like after the booster, when I had like that muscle pain everywhere and I just felt uncomfortable but not really sick. But by the afternoon, and especially the evening and the night, I already had like a pretty high fever, and I slept throughout most of the rest of the day. Like in the morning I was still messaging with my colleagues, emailing everyone that I've been in contact with to let them know, but by the afternoon I was knocked out. Couldn't do anything anymore because I was running a fever of over 39 degrees Celsius. Sorry, American people, I know you work with Fahrenheit, but I do not understand Fahrenheit. I had 39.35, something like this, in the late afternoon on Wednesday last week. And then I basically had on and off fevers up until and including Friday. And on Saturday was the first day that I woke up and I didn't really have a fever anymore and I felt a bit more energetic. And Sunday I even did my usual, you know, cleaning the house. And I've been feeling pretty okay since then, so I'm rambling too much, I need to speed up. I'm going to take my Pat McGrath Labs setting powder now, just a loose one. So I didn't really get much more symptoms-wise than the fever, to be honest. The fever was rather unpleasant, I'm not gonna lie to you. It felt like a mild flu, but I didn't really get a cough. I didn't really get a runny nose. I had this like post-nasal drip, like the secretion that goes from the back of your nose to your throat, which is really irritating because it also makes you feel very queasy. I had that, still a little bit actually. And something that turned out to be a common but atypical symptom of COVID for sure, and it seems to be more associated with Omicron than anything else, night sweats. Dear fucking Lord. The first night or two I was like, okay, this is normal, you know, because I'm sweating off fevers. I'm taking paracetamol and then sweating off the fevers. But once the fevers subsided, I continued to sweat through the night. I think last night was the first night that I only mildly sweated and not as profoundly as the nights before. The nights before, I would wake up drenched several times a night and I would have to change my pajamas. I like had to circulate through pajamas and wash them pretty much every day. It was that bad. So I didn't really get very typical flu symptoms, but I got all of these like weird, the post-nasal drip and the night sweats and everything, and then the fever, and that was it. For bronzer today, I think I'm going to take my Nabla Skin Bronzing in the shade Dune. And then for the rest of the household, so first of all, when it comes to quarantine, the rules that are in place in my work are very different from the ones that are in place in the rest of the country. I work in an academic hospital and they've been extremely paranoid about getting corona on the grounds. So they basically were like, you have to quarantine for at least 7 to 10 days, and if you come before that, you need to be symptom free for this many days. It has to be at least 5 days between you getting the symptoms and you breaking quarantine. And if you come back, you need to basically be on your own wearing a face mask all the time. Like, you cannot have lunch with your colleagues, you cannot do anything with your colleagues, you just have to work. And today is day 7 for me. It is exactly 1 week since I got sick, and I haven't really been at work, and I don't plan on going before Friday. And on Friday I intend to go only for like a few hours, because I, prefer not to risk it, and also it's not like I can do much in a few hours more than I'll be there. But I feel like Friday will already be a pretty safe amount of time. It will be a full 10 days between getting sick, and the fact that I haven't really had symptoms since Friday of last week reassures me that it's probably going to be okay. I was fully intending on not going back to work before getting a negative, even PCR test, but as it turns out, you can continue to test positive for up to 8 weeks after you've been infected with the virus. And probably that's the case if you've had like a very severe case of it, and I don't believe to have had a very severe case of it. So I tested again on Monday morning, and it was still positive, so this past Monday, but it had been only like 5 days or so, so I didn't really expect it to be negative. And I will test again on Friday morning this week to see how that looks like, so hopefully it will be negative by then. For blush, I'm going to take something a little bit more neutral, and also because I've been feeling like shopping myself for this blush. This is the shade Wild Honey from Becca Cosmetics, because we're going to do like a very bright blue smoky eye. I've been really feeling like wearing blue eyeshadow, so I feel like we need to tone it down a little bit with the rest of the face makeup and the lips. And let's go back to the mystery of how the fuck did I even get it, since nobody else around me got it. And well, nobody else, like I said, my student got it. I have a master student since the beginning of February, and ironically enough, he's already been in quarantine once because he was in a high-risk contact with a friend, and the hospital, again, regulations from work say if you've been in a high-risk contact, you're not allowed to come for 5 days, and then you have to test negative on a PCR before you can come back. So he's already been in quarantine once, and then I got sick on Wednesday, and on Tuesday he messaged me, the Tuesday when I was still at work, he messaged me that his girlfriend had tested positive and gotten sick the night before, so he was going to quarantine and see what happens, and he did eventually also get it, I think the day after I got sick. The timing is a little bit strange and doesn't quite add up, because we hadn't seen each other since the Friday before that, so it had already been like 4 or 5 days before I got sick. But, and I will get back to that in a little bit, this virus seems to incubate for quite a while before manifesting symptoms, so it's possible that he was already carrying the virus asymptomatically and he passed it on to me, and then it took a while before both of us got sick. And because his girlfriend was the, patient zero, she got sick first. I think that is the only, logical explanation that I can find of where I could have picked up the virus, but we shall never know. It will be one of those mysteries. And then the rest of the household obviously had to also quarantine. Well, actually, not really. Before we proceed with the story time though, I will take my highlighter, and I have chosen Privilege from Nabla. It's one of their skin glazing powders. I really, really love these powders. They're so incredibly gorgeous on the skin. So officially, because my husband has the booster and he didn't really have any symptoms, he was not obligated to self-quarantine. And the same goes for my son, who goes to daycare. He officially was not really required to quarantine if he didn't have any symptoms. However, we called with daycare and we deemed it a little bit safer for everyone if he stays at home until the weekend at least. And then we fully intended on sending him back to daycare on this past Monday. But then my husband got sick on Sunday night, a full 5 or 6 days after I had gotten sick. So that is what I meant with this virus takes a while to incubate before it manifests with symptoms. I honestly expected that if you've been in contact with such a high-risk contact such as we are here, you know, in the house all the time together, you would probably get sick within 2 or 3 days. But it took my husband a full 5 or 6 days to actually get sick. So be aware of that. I'm just going to quickly set my face here with a little bit of Fix Plus, which I spritzed on my sponge. That is how I always set my face mask. I think I'm going to do my lips a little bit later. I will zoom you now a little bit in for the eye look, but like not too much, I feel like, because I don't want you to also be too scared of, well, my skin doesn't really look all that bad, to be honest. Let's jump into the eye look now. Like I said, I've been feeling like a really like vibrant blue, but like not a vibrant blue, but like a vibrant, more like turquoise blue smoky eye. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take Statuesque from McGrath, because I want to put something a little bit more neutral through my crease. So my husband tested positive on Monday, and he also had you know, a very high fever that day. We kept Nicole at home again just to make sure that day. But to be honest with you, at that point the poor kid was getting really edgy, and I thought, you know what, on Tuesday it will be almost a full 7 days since I got sick. I don't have any symptoms. He's not technically allowed to required to quarantine. So if I feel well on Tuesday, I will take him to daycare. So I did. He's been back at daycare since yesterday, and I feel like everyone is so much happier that way, because he gets to play with the kids, have a bit of social interaction, and not be stuck at home with his 2 sick parents. So yeah, my husband bounced back really quickly, as he usually does. He only had a fever for a day, unlike me, I had a fever for 3 days. And he's been feeling pretty okay. I feel like if it goes like this, he can already probably come out of quarantine in the weekend, because according to the regulations, official regulations from the government, if you have been symptom-free for at least 24 hours and it's been 5 days since you had symptoms, then you can come out of quarantine. So I think in the weekend he will qualify for that. And it's not like we have really big plans or anything. We're just going to probably go to the supermarket, and if the weather is nice, maybe just take a walk outside with the 3 of us. It's interesting to me that so many people have gotten Omicron despite being triple vaccinated. So you can definitely see that vaccinations can very well prevent severe disease, because no one that I know has gotten more than just mild flu symptoms. But it does not really prevent getting sick. It's quite inefficient at preventing you from getting sick. It's efficient for some people, but from what I have seen around me, quite a few people who have been triple vaccinated have gotten it. But like I said, nothing too fancy, you know, you just have a mild flu and that's it. But still, people are experiencing very different, you know, manifestations of it. For instance, Alice said that she had a cough for a week. I did not get a cough at all. Or maybe like I tried to get a cough on Friday and that was it. And I can't even tell you for sure that I really had a cough. It was more like that post-nasal drip that I think was really irritating my throat. But other than that, like I said, nothing major. Other people really get like the sniffles or something, and it really feels like a cold for them. So everyone is experiencing it also very, very differently. So I'm curious what your experience has been. So the next palette that we are going to go into is my... Gosh, that palette is so hard to hold. I'm now going to go into my Celestial Odyssey palette, and I'm going to grab this beautiful deep brown shade over here and apply that in my usual winked out shape here in the outer corner of my eye. So guys, that's it. I have been stuck at home. I haven't really been anywhere besides taking my son to daycare. And the first place I will go, I think, is Friday to work, and even more so to the hairdresser. You can probably tell that my hair looks absolutely atrocious. It needs to be cut, it needs to be colored, and I will do both of those in the upcoming days. I will color it tomorrow, and then on Friday I will go have it cut. I actually had an appointment to have it cut last Thursday, but obviously I couldn't go. The horror. But I've been really in need of a haircut now, and I've been kind of postponing it because my favorite hairdresser in the hair salon that I usually go to apparently quit her job and decided to not work as a hairdresser at the moment. She's still working with hair products, but more like a consultant from what I understand, and not really as a hairdresser at the moment, which is really heartbreaking because me and a bunch of my friends and colleagues were super huge fans of hers, and we would always make an appointment specifically with her. But luckily I don't think I have a very difficult hair to cut, it's just that it needs to go. I'm just going to grab a little bit more of Statuesque and blend around the edges here a bit more because they're a bit harsh right now. I also wanted to thank you for the positive response and, you know, all the suggestions that you gave me in my last video when I asked what kind of content you would like to see. Some of it I'm excited to do. Some of it will not be something that you will see appearing because it's not something that I am into, and you all know that I'm selfish and I film the things that I like to see myself. But something that you will see me doing, I think, in the end of the month is like my first attempt at like a little monthly roundup, like haul slash favorites slash empties. And we shall see how it goes and whether you enjoy it and whether I enjoy it, and we will see whether I can keep that up for a couple of months or whether the batteries will get exhausted very fast. So that also implies I bought something, because last time we saw each other I told you that I hadn't really bought anything. I just purchased something this morning, but I think I'm going to keep it a secret what I purchased. We're just going to talk about it when the products come in. Okay, next I'm going to grab my Pixie epoxy or whatever is left from that. It is my glitter glue of the moment. I'm doing my best to use it up, and as you can tell, it is pretty much as good as gone. I'm just scraping the last bits because I'm too stubborn to get rid of it, but I think I will. This is the last day I'm using it. This is going into my empties pile now. So today Nicola is at daycare all day and I am working from home. Well, currently I'm taking a break, but I'm also, you know, trying to take it a bit easy because I have the horrible habit of always going to work too early and setting myself back when it comes to recovering from any sort of like heavier type of flu virus. By the way, I'm going to now be going back into the Celestial Odyssey palette and I'm going to grab this beautiful turquoise blue. It's blue, but it has very strong green tones to it and green shimmer, and that is the reason I want to take this specific blue, because I've been feeling like this specific, like more seafoamy type of blue. For instance, when I had that stomach flu a couple of weeks ago, I told you that I actually made a video on the day that I went back to work. It was in the middle of the week, and I had not quite recovered from it yet. And then I went to work. I went to work the day after as well, and unfortunately I felt really sick again, and I basically set myself back. So I decided that this time, also because of the convenience of having to be in quarantine, I'm just going to take it a bit easier. And I also don't have access to a lot of the programs that I need for my work from home, so you know what, I'm just going to take it chill. Next I'm going to take my Nocturnal Nirvana quad, and I'm going to go into this beautiful shade here. I think it's called Blitz Aquamarine, but don't quote me on that. It has again these beautiful like greenish blue tones, and I'm going to apply that in the inner portion of my eye and probably in my inner corner as well. Actually no, I'm going to pop something different in my inner corners. So I'm going to pop that here in the inner portion of my lid, and I'm going to also take it slightly over top of that shade from Celestial Odyssey, because this has a little bit more sparkle, but it has like a very sheer base to it, so it allows for the shade to not be fully opaque if you layer it over top of other eyeshadows. It just gives them a little bit more of that blue-green sparkle. Then in my inner corner, I'm going to take just the tiniest bit of this champagne shade from Celestial Odyssey, but just like the absolute tiniest bit. I don't want it to be too overpowering. And now what I'm also going to do is go back again into the Celestial Odyssey palette and take the tiniest bit of Citrine Envy, this beautiful golden tinged green shade, and apply that here in the very inner corner of my eye, in the very inner third. And on the very outer corner of my eye, I'm going to take this shade also from Celestial Odyssey, but like the tiniest bit. It's a very, very dark shade, just to finish off the look with something a little bit smokier and deeper on the outer part of the eye. I was initially considering of layering a little bit of the Astro shade from the Bridgerton palette over, like, just in the center of my lids. You know what, I'm just going to do it. But I'm going to like really stick here in like the very center of the lid, and I'm just going to grab a few flakes of that shade. Not too many, because I feel like it will add this beautiful dimension of blue and sort of like purpley sparkle. But like I said, I want it to be very subtle. And honestly, I think the look was really pretty also without it. But you all know I like to layer things as much as possible, so I'm just going to do that. You may also leave it at the shade from Nocturnal, Nirvana and Celestial Odyssey, because that looked really pretty as well. I don't know that this did much, but you know, I tried it. So this is the final look. Is it groundbreaking? No, it ain't. I just felt like, you know, sitting, talking to you a little bit, getting back on camera, because it's always a little bit of a process if you haven't filmed for a while to get back into it. I always really enjoy the combination of like turquoise, green, blue with peach, which is why for my lipstick I chose a very peach colored one. This is the Sukyu, what is this called again? Sukyu Moisture Rich Lipstick in 01. It's one of those beautiful, like very creamy, very nourishing formulas. Also something that's not going to last you a whole day, but honestly I'm going to just go downstairs in a bit, have lunch, and the lipstick will be off. But I wanted to complete the look with something that I enjoy color-wise, so there you have it. Let me know what you thought about this look. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're all staying well and healthy, and we shall see each other again very, very soon. Hopefully. Bye!